All right, I want to do a bit of a walk around with my 98 Dodge Ram. It's a 2500 Cummins diesel. It is a quad cab, so the only half year where you could get a 12 valve with the quad cab. Overall, the interior is pretty nice in this truck. It has 260,000 miles on it. This is a LMC, I can't remember what they call it, but a little storage rack that replaces your visors. Probably going to take it out eventually. It was nice in theory, but I think I'd rather have my visors back. You can put the visors back on this portion here, but they hang down pretty low. So I'm probably going to go back to the visors. They say it does not work with the overhead console, which is true. There's a lip in the front, just like there's a lip in the back, and if you cut that lip away, it will fit around the overhead console. So this truck does have the built-in ambient thermometer and the compass. This is a 5-speed. It has a BD exhaust brake. I made this switch setup here. I made the clamp, and I had this switch laying around, and I had this knob that I put on the switch. I even had this little plastic container thing that was meant for holding like a collet for machining work. I painted it black, and that hides the switch there. So rather than pay $80 for the switch from BD Diesel that goes on the shifter, I went with that. Got a Prodigy trailer brake controller. I'm pretty excited about this new stereo I got. If you look here, it has a reverse camera on a little tiny screen. This was the only name brand single DIN stereo without a separate big screen on it that I could find that had a built-in screen like this. There's some where the screen will pop out, and there's some where it's a big screen that kind of fits over it. I had a Joying 7-inch stereo with Android Auto, and frankly I thought it was junk, so that's I just replaced it with this one, and I'm pretty happy with it so far. This is Bluetooth only, no Android Auto bullshit to lose connection and fight connecting and all that. The only thing that kind of bums me out about this stereo is there is no RGB colors. You're stuck with the blue. But I took the faceplate apart, and it looks like fairly standard 1206 size surface mount LEDs. So I bought some green LEDs, and I'm going to swap that out so it matches the dash and the pillar gauges colors. So let's see what else. So with the 98s are a bit of an odd year with the dashboard, the interior. The airbag switch is down here along with the fog light switch. I'm gonna get a error from my damn phone here. Turn that down. It's not gonna want to turn down. Anyways. And then the power outlet is up here. And then they also have a push-pull headlight switch. The 99 and up, it's a rotating switch with the fog light switch built in there. This is turned into a cubby, and this power outlet is moved down here, so there's a second power outlet on this panel, and this airbag switch is moved up to here. So with the 98s, this panel is unique to the 98 only. If you try and swap it out, you have a big gap around here if you buy a newer 99 version, which is the only ones they sell now remanufactured, or the or reproductions are for the 99. So the headlight switch hole is not right, and you have to dick around with this stuff over here to move it. So yeah, I have a OBD2 dongle. with a mechanical diesel engine, you're obviously not getting very much info from the OBD2. This is a BD diesel front axle disconnect. So if I want to run two-wheel drive, low range, I just flip this switch up, and that disables the CAD on the front axle, so I can use low range and two-wheel drive. I'm using a Valentine 1 radar detector. This is the V1 G2, and a black view dash camera, and I really do not like the black view dash camera. I would not buy that again. That's another story. So this here, this is JBV1. This runs with the Valentine 1. It stores all sorts of things. It gives you alerts through Waze as where police are sitting. It stores lockouts, so it'll keep the detector silent when you drive by known false emitting locations. It's hard to see, but with the OBD dongle, it also has a little RPM readout up here, and then there's also a coolant temperature readout, so I have my coolant temp and RPM there. It also gets the speedometer info from the OBD2 instead of using GPS, so it's quicker in reacting and all that. Speaking of speedometer, since I do not have stock size tires on this truck, I have a Dakota Digital little calibration box mounted under here that lets me calibrate the speedometer. Recently the Bluetooth chip on that died, so when I just changed tires, I was not able to connect to it through my phone to change the tire size. I have another video about that. And then, so I had to go in manually through its little built-in menu using two separate buttons. It's a huge pain in the ass, but I was able to get it changed over to the new tire size. Got ISPRO gauges. These are the EV2, I believe. So this design here is meant to sort of mimic the factory looking gauges. They're all electronic gauges, including the boost gauge. It's pretty cool. They have built-in LEDs, and these are programmable. So you have this warning light come on, like right now it's on because the fuel pressure is low because it's not running. So it'll come on at a preset pressure. Same with the boost. I have that set. So I believe I have it set at 35 PSI. So if it goes above that, because I'm on the stock turbo, the red light will come on. And the pyro will light up at 1250 EGT. So we can get out, take a look more at the truck. As far as the interior goes, it's pretty clean. It's not great, but for the most part, it's way cleaner than most of these, which is what drew me to the truck. It's always got to be someone loud driving by. When I bought it, the seat wasn't even ripped here. It started to rip since I've owned it. So I'm gonna have to buy a new cover eventually. It's very rare to see these without a ripped seat. It did have this, but this was smaller. This has gotten bigger, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do about the door panels. Maybe have a shop redo this upholstery part rather than find junkyard panels, but that's where that's at. The outside, as my channel name implies, it's a bit of a shitbox. The bed is just thrashed. At one point, one of the owners had stacks in the bed, from what I was told. I've welded up. This panel that was cut out came with the bed, or with the truck when I bought it, so I welded that one back in. That side was missing. I had some similarly shaped metal that I welded in, but it doesn't match this this pattern exactly, but it works. It has a hiding gooseneck hitch, which I have not used. I've towed with the bumper pull. Here's where I have the reverse camera mounted. It's just double-sided taped to the top of the receiver. I have 285 7017 Cooper Discoverer Rugged Treks. These are brand new. I really like them so far. These are American Racing wheels. Baja something, I believe, was the name of the wheels. 17 by 8s. The 17 by 9s have a more substantial dish that I don't really like in my case. I know it works for some builds, but I like the flatter look of these ones. The exhaust is totally custom, and it's kind of a shitbox at the moment, but it's 4-inch turbo back, bumps to 5 right there. There's currently no muffler, but there will be a small muffler because it is a little obnoxious. What I was doing recently, which is why it has no muffler, so I've been experimenting. This is a quarter wave resonator. So this hole sawed into here, welded in, and this is a predetermined length based on some calculations, and that totally eliminates drone when it's the right length. And on this end I have a silicone coupler with a little pipe capped off that goes in there, and I have different length pipes I can put on there to tune that. And this does not get hot at all because there is no exhaust flow through this pipe at all. But the idea is a sound wave will run down to the end of that, and it's tuned at the right length, so it will pop, the wave will bounce back at the right time to cancel out a different wave going this way, I believe is the idea. And it works extremely well. The mirror's folded in because I park in the carport, and it's not quite wide enough. So that's this side. It's baseball season, so I got a bunch of crap in the back for going to my kids' games. So, but yep, it's a quad cab. Again with the shit box. See, there's more damage to this side of the bed. More damage there. So it needs a new bed, and it needs a paint job. So that fender is the worst part of the paint. Engine is mostly stock. So BD exhaust brake. This is a AFE or AEM dry flow air filter. Stock turbo with the silencer ring removed. I was having some blow-by problems, or oil leak problems really. The blow-by isn't too horrible on this thing. So I put in a 24 valve breather on the front here, and then this oil fill valve cover, so I can fill it without the fill on the cover there. Then that eliminated my major oil leak issues on the highway that I was having. It does need a tappet cover gasket done for sure, and that would help, I believe. It's got an 11 fuel plate in it with a boost elbow, 3K governor springs. These are the solenoids here for the BD exhaust brake. So the bottom one controls the exhaust brake. This top one controls the front axle disconnect. They're both made by BD, so they both mount to this same bracket. I don't think they intend you to have both, but since I have both, I removed the short screws that mount to the bracket, stacked these on top of each other, and used long screws to hold them together. But this here is a pressure switch that runs to the exhaust brake housing, and apparently its deal is to cut out the exhaust brake if the pressure gets too high. In my testing with an airline, it seems about 75 psi is when that happens, which is quite a bit over spec from where you normally want the exhaust pressure to get up to. So, but that's there just for safety, I guess. I can't find any documentation about that. I think that's an older thing that they no longer do. This exhaust brake, from what I was able to see with some of the other parts, was labeled roughly 1998, 1999 vintage. I had to basically rebuild the exhaust brake because it was totally frozen when I got it, and the seller lied to me, but I got a very good deal, so I'm not too broken up about that. 150 bucks for an exhaust brake. It's got these stupid canister style or replaceable element fuel filters that the 97s and up had. I have the Gino's Garage billet filter head there with the cartridge style, you know, spin-on filter that I'm gonna swap it over to soon. This is just the boost pressure transducer that I have remote lined over. So one of the other interesting things, sounds like a common rail drove by, that is a ultrasonic fuel level sending unit. The sending unit was bad in this, and the only place you can get it is Gino's Garage for a 98 12 valve, and it's 400 bucks, which I don't want to pay 400 bucks. So that was 120 on Amazon. Unfortunately, it loses its signal sometimes. This is mounted under here, and there is silicone grease in between that helps it get a good, basically a ultrasonic view of what's in the tank. And then it's calibrated with a little calibration box mounted to the dash and then spliced in. And that's what gives me my fuel level at the moment. But oftentimes it doesn't get a reading, and then so the fuel level will just show 0. But that's what I'm using for now. Eventually I might come up with a different plan. I might put in the older, a 96 or 7 12 valve sending unit in here and put a resistor in line so it has the right resistance range to work with a 98 dash. I'm not sure what else to do at this point. It's really annoying. But yeah, this is my shitbox 98 Dodge Ram 12 valve.